Friday morning, almost 6:30. About to go get it. Got a couple to do. Been battling something ever since Tuesday. Felt like crap all night, all day yesterday. Took some over-the-counter meds. Hopefully it suppresses the issue for a little while. Put my dusk mask on. Try to push through these couple yards this morning and get done soon. Enjoy your Fridays, everyone. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Grant's Lawn Care. Hope everybody's been enjoying this week. The weather here has been pretty sunny all week long. This would be my fourth one so far this morning. I started right at about 6:30 and just trying to get a lot of things taken care of as the day progresses. So I hope you sit back and enjoy the content here as we're getting ready to knock this one out. This may be my last one, I'm not sure. By the time I'm finished mowing this one, I'll know what I feel like doing, whether if it's one more or two more. There's plenty that I can do just to stay ahead of my schedule that is going to be a little bit off this week because I have to work Monday and Tuesday on my full-time job. So my Monday route is going to be just a little off. It's going to have to be taken care of on Wednesday. So I'm going to see what I feel like after this one. This will be number 4. And I may go out and do 1 or 2 more. So I'm going to stop yapping, sit back and enjoy this video. And we're about to get to it. So this particular lawn right here, I ended up getting them by doing the neighbor's property beside them. And what ended up happening was the neighbor moved, but as luck, folded, they approached me and asked me also for services. And, this is like, the second or third time that this has happened, but somebody will move, but the neighbor would already have shown me interest in being their provider, and I pretty much just went ahead on and I ended up having them, so it still kept me in the neighborhood. This neighborhood recently, within the last, I'd say 2 to 3 years, started becoming more developed. This street was more of a family street than anything, than I guess whoever the landowner was. I guess, if money talks, they're gonna change it up into a development. So there's several new homes in this little area. A lot of them do their own property, and then I've seen other companies out here doing some of the houses as well. So, the work is out there. Just got to get out here and get to it. And, as we've said in several videos, myself and others included, that everybody in that neighborhood to a degree is watching your work. People can be cutting their own lawn, for a year or two, and then they get to the point to where they don't want to do it anymore. They just want to pay somebody and leave that chore to someone else. And hey, you displaying perfect work in that neighborhood, you probably the number one, choice when it comes to a lawn care provider. So, like, keep in the back of your mind, the neighbors are always watching. Somebody's always watching. There's an eye in the sky. Work speaks for itself, and integrity also. So when you're out in these neighborhoods, especially these newer developed neighborhoods where you got new homes being put up left and right everywhere, and you land 1 or 2 in that neighborhood and you still got an appetite for more, hey, that's your time to shine. Especially if you're the only lawn care provider in the neighborhood right then and there. You can probably take over a good hunk of that neighborhood. So just keep that in mind. The point is on this is somebody's always watching your work, and they can tell, rather if you slack on doing your job or rather if you're gonna be punctual every single time you come out to their property. So stay tuned. I'm gonna chime back in here in just a few with some more points. So as I think I mentioned earlier, I've been battling something for the last couple of days. Again, today is Friday the 18th, and I started feeling kind of bad on Wednesday. A little bit of it started Tuesday, but I was like, oh, it ain't too bad. I might can fight it all. Wednesday, as the day went by, it just got progressively worse, and the coughing, the congestion, etc. It just compounded, and I was like, ain't no way this is how I'm going to end my week, doping up on meds and trying to get better and being able to get out here and do what I'm doing now, mow my route for Friday, so I won't be so delayed, because unfortunately on Monday and Tuesday I have to work my full-time job, and Monday and Tuesday both are days that I mow a regular route. So now those mows are going to get pushed to Wednesday and Thursday, on top of also working some part-time hours. So while I was mowing, and this property isn't in this video, this is the good thing about voiceovers, but I was on a property of somebody who knows the family very well, and they were like, aren't you sick? Ain't you supposed to be sick? And I was like, yeah. I said, but the way my schedule's set up, I said the best thing I can do is just try to get out here and get to it. It ain't nobody else that I can say, hey, go do my route, man, go take care of this, so I won't get behind. So when I woke up this morning, I got out the house right at a little after 6, and got to my first property by right about 6:30. And this property right here that you see me mowing now is number 4. And I made pretty good time. And honestly, I didn't feel as bad. I don't know whether that fresh air was, helping out. But the dust, as you can see here, didn't, play any recovery role. But I didn't feel too bad. I moved around as normal, minus the coughing and congestion feeling. But, my point is, sometimes, staying at home and trying to recover may be the best route to go. But I'm solo. I have a lot of grass to cover, on my own. And me to say, oh, I feel bad this morning and delay these properties, it would put me so far behind next week, because next week is going to be one of my short weeks. And I try my best not to mow on the weekends unless it's in the case of an emergency. So, granted, I was sick. I felt like crap, the last couple of days. But I just had to get out here and tough through it. I mean, that's how I grew up, toughing through things. I was told I need to go to the doctor, I'm sorry, I just don't really rush to the doctor right away over sniffles and a little bit of cough, because I just don't. That's just not the way, I really came up. And I like to try to, I don't really like to take them, but over-the-counter medicines just for comfort. I don't really see a whole lot of benefits in a lot of those over-the-counter medicines when it comes to the common cold or sinuses or anything like that anyway. But, some of them do have their pros, I guess I can say, when it comes to the mucus relief, depending on the brand and the amount of milligrams of the prescription that's in it. So, to each his own. But I had to just get out and push through and get these properties done, and, keep my schedule as regular as possible, because working 48-hour shifts, it throws my weeks off. So I'm either a couple of days early or a couple of days past the bi-weekly mark on some properties. Now, my weekly properties, once a week is once a week, but those, bi-weekly properties, those are the ones that kind of get like, a little bit on the, I'm 2 days early or I'm 2 days late, and don't let weather be an adverse factor as well. So sometimes you just got to push through. If you just to the point to where you really know you can't get out of the house and get out here and do something, I'm not saying you force yourself to do it, but if you got a little bit of energy and strength to get outside and do something and get some fresh air and get yourself moving, I would encourage it. So that's just a little tip and a little suggestion for me. I still feel a little bit rough as I'm doing this voice over here. You probably can hear a difference in my voice, but I promised you guys some content, so that's what I'm going to do. and working hard is something that I've always tried to hold myself accountable for. So again, sit back and continue to enjoy this video. You made it this far. Again, please, 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 if you made it this far and have enjoyed this content so far, subscribe to the channel, give a thumbs up to this video, and just show some love. Stay tuned. We're gonna wrap this video up here shortly. And one more thing, don't hesitate to give some pointers, some point of views on things you would like to see on the channel or like to hear me talk about. I mean, I just want to open up this platform for positivity and for everybody's enjoyment. So I mean, hey, leave some interesting things in the comments, positive stuff in the comments, and I'll get back to them and I can talk about them in a video. Introduce yourself to the platform if you're new here or whatnot. Just drop it in the description or the comments per se, and we're gonna make this channel grow. That's all I'm gonna keep saying. We're gonna make this channel grow. It's not growing as fast as I would like it to, but that's just a different day's argument. And hey, I appreciate the ones that's been riding with me so far. So do that for me. Drop down in the comments some things you want to hear me talk about or open up about, and we'll make it happen. Just some of the, like I say, best properties. You got a few obstacles, but as you can see, for the most part, from left to right, open spaces. Open spaces. You can open up your mower and ride and mow and sling grass as far as you can sling it and get the property done. Again, I've mentioned it in a lot of my videos in the past. I like to do a perimeter pass, maybe 1 or 2 perimeter passes as I'm doing here now. That way when I get ready to turn around, I just go up to the perimeter, turn around, boom, there's no grass that's left that I have to come back and get, etc., etc. So that's just a little tip. If you haven't tried it, once you hit a property, go around it at least once, maybe twice, make a perimeter cut, and then whatever angle you decide to go at when cutting your properties, hey, go for it. With this one, I've cut it multiple ways. I've cut it from, again, left to right, and as you'll see here in just a few moments, I cut it at an angle. When I first took on this property, and the one that was decided, again, like I said, they were new development, so the ground really wasn't 100% settled in, and they were rough. I'm talking about bumps, rocks, tree roots, everything that the construction companies couldn't get cleaned up 100% before they actually put the property, out there for somebody to come and get in. It was still out there. So the property, the neighbor's property to the left of this one that I had first was pretty bad. Especially if you cut it at like an up and down angle, you would hit those bumps. And I'm telling you, those bumps would have you shaking up by the end of you cutting. You are like, wow, feel like a milkshake. So on this one, I like to go at this angle right here. And for some reason or another, it just seems like it cuts just a tad bit better going with the way the yard is kind of actually like graded. It's hard to tell in this video here. You'd actually have to walk the property to see it. But right where I'm at now is where I believe the septic tank is, because that area is always the thickest, no matter whether it's raining or not. That's always the thickest area, and I usually double cut it, to disperse the grass clippings, from being all piled up right there in that one little spot. But these wide open yards, to me, they are a dream. They are just open, and you can go and the minimum amount of weed eating that some of them bring. I mean, granted, I had to go around the whole fence line, front and back, because you can't get the mower up under there. But easy. You wind your weed eater up, get enough string out, and walk and sling some grass, and job will be done. So tell me, how you guys feel about open properties. I'm pretty sure a lot of you gonna feel the same way I do about, you can't beat them. When you go to these properties and they don't have no kind of like yard decor or anything in them, sign me up. Sign me up. The less I gotta hold that weed eater, hey, I am happy as a bug in the rug. So leave it in the comments. How do you guys, feel about open properties, wide open spaces versus, the overcrowded yards? And I'm pretty sure, like I said, I think about 99.9% of you all will agree with me that you can't beat an open space. And as we wrap this video up, just one more fun fact that, I can say about my properties. This one particular property here, every time I go, there is always frogs in the same exact spot. And unfortunately, where I'm weeding at now, last season, there was a pretty good sized frog that usually jumps out as soon as I start hitting the ground. He'll jump out and go the opposite direction. Well, this unfortunate time last season, as I was string trimming, just behind me where you see the utility box, he jumped out at the last minute, and when I backed up and I swung my trimmer around, I caught him. And I was a little bit upset with myself, because I was like, man, like every time I came to this property, this frog, he was always there. So this property, once I get from, here, as the video goes on, right on the opposite side of the air conditioning unit, there's another frog that hangs back there. And I actually recorded it and another one on my Instagram stories about 2 cuts ago. And they're always in the same spot. So now when I go back here, I'm always just a little bit more cautious. The overgrowth this time wasn't as bad, so I could easily see the ground and see whether they hopped out. There was one that I did see. He was on the concrete pad back behind the back door. He was in a safe spot, but the big bullfrog, more than likely, he was probably under the air conditioning unit, because on the opposite side, there's a little bit of a washout, I guess, from water or whatnot, that he can get up under there and stay protected from. But the little one I did see this morning, but he was on the, like I said, the concrete pad at safety. So just a little fun fact, when I go to this property, I know, hey, my frog buddies are going to be back here in the backyard, so just be mindful of them. They're not causing any harm. They're just eating bugs and, living in this world that we all, occupy. So just a fun fact. Do you all have anything that stands out on your properties? Drop it below. All right, we done. I ain't walking all the way back there, but zoom in a little bit. Got it taken care of. Took me just a little bit longer, as normal, of course, because shooting content takes time on properties. Moving the tripod and everything else that comes with the territory. But there it is. Finished product, I must say, looks fairly well. Fairly well. Everything taken care of. Everything back here. Just turn these down a little bit. Shake that off. Everything. Not gonna walk everywhere, but I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see. Everything is uniform. Everything is uniformed. Again, for the front. I used to have that property right there, but the old clients, they moved away, and the new person, I guess, take care of it themselves. The walkway. Everything is done. They even, this wasn't that much grass. They recently just paved the road, but I do this area now. It really wasn't a big area. By the mailbox, I usually just did about 2 foot around the mailbox, but now since there's this there now, I take care of it. Just a little good size space, but there it is. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in. If you haven't already done so, and you always on my channel, please just hit the subscribe button. It's totally free. I greatly appreciate it. And if you enjoyed the content, please give me a thumbs up. That'll help my channel out as well. I'm trying to get over the 600 mark with subscribers, and it just seems like it's a battle, but I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep dropping this content, and hopefully the right people who come to the channel are the ones that stick around and continue to enjoy what I bring to this platform. So everyone, have a happy Easter. Enjoy yourselves. Hopefully all of the kids have a good time if you do Easter egg hunts, and hopefully you and your family have a pretty good meal, depending on who, what, and where you're having your festivities for on Easter. And make sure, you know, for those of you who go to church, make sure your Easter suits and dresses are in order. So thank y'all for tuning in to Grant's Lawn Care. I will catch you guys in the next one. Y'all be safe. Peace.